Maybe. I think this is working. I'm not sure. We are trying our best here. Welcome, guys. Welcome to another True Crime Drunks. I'm your host, Holly, and without me today is Wes McBee. So, I'm just going to wait a second, make sure everything's working right. Let's see. How's everyone's day going? It is a Sunday, not a Saturday like we normally do. Last time we did it on a Friday. I got a job that requires me to work weekends, so it's been quite difficult to consistently have a schedule. But show must go on, as the people say. Sorry, just double checking. Everything sounds good. Oh, I am. All right, now it looks like everything's working. So, volume down. All right, guys. Today we're talking about Carl Tanzler. He is a spooky gentleman, as a lot of the gentlemen we talk about on here, and ladies, can't discriminate. Women can be gross too. As they say. I don't know who says it. I say it. That's all that matters. So, we're talking about Carl Tanzler today. We're also going to be going over what I want to do with the podcast on my end, on my personal end. As you can tell today, it's an alright background. Super fun, but it's cool. It's a little weird not having Wes here, mostly because I enjoy Wes's banter. But it's cool. So, Carl Tanzler. We covered him in our Lonely Hearts episode, which, unfortunately, if you did not tune in, it is gone. It is lost from existence. It is not something we have, fortunately, available anymore. It was one of those we forgot to download it, and then time passed, and now we can't get it. Twitch, if you're listening, please give me back that episode. That was my favorite episode we've ever done. It was so well done. We did a bunch of, crimes that happened on Valentine's Day, crimes of passion, and then obviously Carl Tanzler, which is a crime of passion, who I will be re-going over today because that is my favorite true crime. My favorite true crime. So, going in, Carl Tanzler, full name George Carl Tanzler, was born on February 18th, 1977 in Germany, which I believe makes him either Aquarius or Pisces. I really don't know that much. So he grew up in Germany. Was it in 77? I guess it was in 77, yep. So he grew up in Germany. Let's see. Where am I missing the information? Oh, goodness. Apology, guys. Huh. Anyways, Carl Tanzler, he was a man. Hi, Bieber. Hi, everybody. But yeah, Carl Tanzler, he was a gentleman. He was born in Germany. At one point, moved to Australia. From what I remember, he did not have the best relationship with his family, but a lot of men during that time normally don't. So, while he lived in Australia, there was some things going on, and it brought him back to Germany, where he did get married to, let's see, yep, his wife Doris, D-O-R-I-S, Doris, and then they had 2 children. One of them did die of dysentery, so that's very devastating to hear. But, so he married, had a wife, 2 kids, and then basically then Tanzler immigrated to the United States from Germany in 1926. So basically from here, he moved there, kind of then went to Cuba, and then with Cuba, he then decided to settle in Florida, which was kind of, on the coast. Because that's where also his sister lived, so he kind of joined in with where his sister was. And then eventually his wife and 2 daughters did follow him from Germany to Florida, but I know, right? Is this an Oregon Trail? It doesn't really tell me a lot about her death, mostly because it's not the main event. But yeah, so basically his wife and kids did come, but he separated from them. Kind of give reason why in a little bit. So he started being a physician because he was a doctor in Germany, so he became a doctor in the United States when it used to be really easy just to transfer all your information over. And so, yeah, so basically he started then working at a radiology technician at U.S. Marine Hospital in Key West, Florida. But then he changed his name from Carl K-A-R-L to Carl K or C-R-L. But he wasn't Carl Tanzler, it was Carl von Kossel? C-O-S-E-L, Kossel? Anyways, he then met a young lady, and let's talk about her. So Maria Elena Milagro del Hayo, but we'll call her Maria for short. She actually, we'll call her Helen because that's what Tanzler called her, and that's kind of the point of this story. So Elena was a daughter of a local cigar maker. So she unfortunately got very, very sick and was in and out of the hospital quite a bit. Key point was quite a bit in and out of the hospital, and lived in Key West. She was a daughter of a local cigar maker. She had 2 sisters. One who also married a man who succumbed to tuberculosis. And then but yeah, so basically, when Helen was sick, she would go to the doctor a lot. Obviously, her doctor's name was Carl Tanzler. Is that why they call my mom the hospital? Because everyone is in and out of her? Oh my god. How dare you roast your mom on the stream? That's a good one, though. But yeah, so basically, around April 22nd, 1930, Carl Tanzler claimed he met his true love, his soulmate, Helen, who was coming in and out of the hospital, especially this first time, was just as a checkup, and then they found out that she was very sick. For Carl, she was a dark-haired, beautiful foreigner to him, and she was kind of known for her beauty all kind of through Key West, especially being known for being the daughter of a local cigar maker. But she did marry. She was married at one point. She was married to a man named Louis. Let's see. But what happened to this man? But he did leave her eventually because she had a miscarriage because of her illness. They never got legally divorced. I do like crimes. Thanks for asking. But, so basically, Helen, she was sick. She married this man. She had a miscarriage because of her illness. And during that time, Carl was around. He would send her gifts, always proclaiming his love. She never reciprocated. Unfortunately, she was also diagnosed with tuberculosis. At the time, it was a very fatal disease, so she did not have long, just like her sister's husband. Of course, Carl did try everything in his power to make sure that he could try to heal her. Would come often to the house and visit, was very close with her family. I don't think they didn't really understand why, in the sense of he was there because he was in love with her, not really because of being a good doctor. Just like another man we covered, true crime junks, but just talking about the man who wrote Alice in Wonderland. That was if you would know the story about why that was written, it would make a lot more sense for this joke. But yeah, so unfortunately, she did pass away. She died on October 25th, 1931, which during that time, since Tanzler was pretty close with the family, he asked if he could build her a memorial or I was going to say sarcophagus. I know that's not the word. What is it called? Above ground tomb. What are those called again? Where you get to go into a little house, but you don't go into them because you know there's a dead body above ground. Mausoleum. That's the word. So basically, Tanzler made her a mausoleum. Little to the known, Lewis Carroll was a bad man. I was going to talk about him a little bit after this. But yeah, no. So the family obviously very grateful for all that Tanzler's done for their daughter in the first place. Did accept the mausoleum for her because that's what she deserved. Only did they know that it was because Tanzler wanted to visit her all the while. A crypt. That's another one. Is a crypt down like in the basement, or is it like bigger? I don't know what a crypt is. Like, because a mausoleum is one singular tomb, because like a memorial. But what's a crypt? And then they could call her the crypt keeper. That's how I want to go. But anyways, but that story does not end there with her death, unfortunately. Tanzler became still super obsessive. He claimed that Helen would actually come to him and that he could see his spirit, and that's why he would go and serenade her with her favorite Spanish songs, basically trying to serenade her to come back from the grave, telling her spirit to let her come back. Then, what was that? A couple years later? It looks like about 2 years later, maybe a year and a half, April 1933, Carl finally took Ellen's corpse out of the grave and then transported her body back to his home. Correction, I think you wanted everyone to take your body and do... Yes, that is actually fair. After my body's done, though. Once we're done with the weekend at Bernie's rave with my body, then you can make me a crypt keeper. But yeah, so basically after Tanzler buried her, paid for everything, he did bury up her body. She I guess not really buried, because she wasn't buried, she was above ground too. Anyways, he got her body, and then he started his work, essentially, where he then started preserving her body, which was quite horrendous if you look at it. It looks like a blow-up doll if you look at pictures of it. So basically, after a while, the body kept decomposing because, you know, it is a dead body. He would basically replace her skin. He would use piano wires to make her be able to, like, move a little bit more. Kind of made, like, a homemade puppet. But yeah, so he attached the bones together with piano wire. He replaced her eyeballs. Of course, kept them in a glass jar. He would just put them then into glass balls. You think about piercing the septum? I actually have thought about piercing my septum. Weird how you thought of that. But, so yeah, so basically, Tanzler tried his best. He redid her body. He then would, like, replace her skin with silk clothing, soaked in wax and plaster. As her hair obviously fell out, he would then get her a wig, so then she would have the hair that was somewhat similar. He would then fill up her bodies with rags, so then they would keep the original form. He would dress her in, like, clothing that she either already owned or clothing that she would normally consistently wear. And especially kept the jewelry that he first gave them. And then, but yeah, so basically he would keep her in his house, kind of in his bed, just always there. And then obviously with the smell, he always had to use much perfume and other disinfecting agents to get rid of the smell. And then eventually in October 1940, Elena's sister kind of heard rumors about Tanzler, about how somehow it leaked that his somehow it got leaked that at one point or another, like, Carl was sleeping with her sister's body, which obviously was true. It never really said how or why we kind of know this, like how she found out about this information. Mostly because that's not something I feel like Tanzler would have told people, but he was having sex with her body, unfortunately. Once then her sister notified the authorities, and then Tanzler was arrested and detained at that point. So then he was obviously sent to a psych ward at first just to see what was going on. Obviously he was found mentally competent and stood trial of destroying a grave and removing the body without authorization. Eventually, then he was held to answer his things. Do you think he was going to the bar and gloating about getting laid with his homies? That's what I was wondering, because, like, that's just such a weird rumor to start out of nowhere, and two, you know what you're doing with a partner. Like, you know what you're doing is technically illegal and wrong. I don't know if it was illegal at the time. I don't know when laws became a thing, but you still can't mess with a grave. I know that's always been a big rule. But, like, how does someone find out that you're sleeping with a corpse? Unless maybe he was smelling like the corpse. If I donate $10, do you smoke all the cigarettes in a box on the stream? I'm inside of an apartment building. I'm not going to smoke like that. And also, I don't think you can donate right now because we're not affiliates. But I appreciate the $10 nevertheless if you want to send that through. But anyway, so he was done on trial. Obviously, with that, the case was eventually dropped and he was released. Mostly because they took too long on his trial and the statute of limitations it expired, so he technically didn't have anything to be charged with anymore. But unfortunately, after he was found, Elena's body, they then actually put in an unmarked grave in fear of Carl finding her body. The legends say that you can find her body, or he found her body, and that's why he disappeared. Mostly because, he was still obsessed with her up until the day he died. But yeah, so after the trial, he was living outside of Florida for a little bit. Or not, like, outside of Florida. If I donate $100, can you smoke all the cigarettes in a box on the stream? I don't have any cigarettes on me. I really don't. Can't do it. But yeah, so basically, I'm not really sure where he was moved to. Yeah, so I guess he did move once he took her body. And so basically after the trial, he did move back to Florida, obviously. And then he had a mold of her head and did create a life-size doll of her, essentially, and lived with it till he died, which was on July 3rd, 1952 at 75. It is rumored that he would used to go and try to find the unmarked buried grave, mostly because he really wanted to obviously find her and keep it going. And then before he died, his old wife did come back and help take care of him till his end of the days. So, pretty cut and dry story. Pretty fucked up, pretty interesting. But yes. And then, let's see, what else? Apparently, there has been, well, with the donated money, you buy the cigarettes at the store. But that would take 2 streams. If you want me to go buy cigarettes, I have to go stop the stream and go buy cigarettes. And then I have to come back and smoke them all. I know he wrapped the body up in the head. Just imagine the smell. That's what I just couldn't imagine, is the smell. And how he was able to handle it. Apparently there was allegations of her not dying of tuberculosis, and it was actually him poisoning her. Obviously those allegations are not fact. They're just allegations, probably, because it was quite a bit after Tanzler died that one of the physicians was like, I'm pretty sure he did. And I was like, meh, 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 meh. Because if they found a note allegedly that saying it did, and it was, she died because I gave this to her mercifully. I mixed the root of wolfsbane with acetonate diluted. It was palpable, and my loved ones departed this miserable world on October 25th, 1931. Suffer no more, sweet Elena. I have sent you to the angels with my golden elixir. But obviously with something like that, do you accept the proposal or not? I want to say no to accepting the proposal. But yeah, Carl Tanzler, that's kind of the life of him. He wasn't very noteworthy, to be honest with you, besides falling in love with a dead woman. So, yeah, I went by many names, was a doctor, and then was a necrophiliac. So, happens. But another weird man that we can talk about a little bit, that Wes knows this one after we did Read Between the Wines. What was it? Lewis Carroll. Yeah, Lewis Carroll of Alice in Wonderland. Don't we all want someone to love us that much, though? I mean, dead me wouldn't be mad. I mean, the thing is, I always say, if my body's dead, it's dead. There's really nothing I can do about it. As long as, I guess, like, I don't know, I guess it depends on what you believe in. Nice. Bieber's gonna have a Wes. Now you gotta watch your food. Think about how comfortable. I bet there's gotta be more too with preserving, so you could probably do it better than they did back then. We getting him stuffed. Nice. But yeah, so another really creepy man with the obsession with a girl that's a little too young for him. Lewis Carroll, the gentleman that wrote Alice in Wonderland. This burger tastes like poison wrap. So, Lewis Carroll, he obviously wrote Alice in Wonderland. He had this obsession with a girl who was a family friend of his. So he was kind of like a up-and-coming author at the time, kind of pristine in his accomplishments / kind of knew of some higher up people, and he met this family whose youngest daughter, who I think was at the time 11 or 13. I can't remember the number by heart because I didn't do my research. I'm just telling you a fun story. So around 11, Alice met this gentleman, Lewis, who had a very big thing for her. Who then apparently would always hang out with Alice, would only come over for dinners just to see Alice. At one point, even asks the dad if he could marry Alice. To give some more context, he was like a 30, 40-year-old man and she was an 11-year-old girl. Obviously, the family said no, he wouldn't leave her alone. So then the family actually relocated Alice and then relocated themselves because of Lewis Carroll's actions. And to show Alice, before he wasn't allowed to see her anymore, he wrote her a story called Alice in Wonderland. And now when next time you read this book, if you don't think of this, then, or if I ruined it for you, I apologize. But he wrote it basically about Alice going through puberty and becoming a woman. And so if you notice, like, I can't remember all the weird little things that he did, but it was just like all the like the little side comments, like about curiouser and curiouser, just like being curious about the world, being curious about your body, and then all those other things. Yeah, that's another creepy man story. And so, yeah, eventually the family had to relocate Alice because Lewis couldn't keep his hands to himself. Or things like that. On topics of poetry, I've always wanted to maybe do a pod. I don't think it's big enough to do, but I always like to ask people's opinion on how they think Edgar Allan Poe died. Because no one truly knows. Timed out, Joe. Thanks, Wes. Assume that's what you did. But, yeah. Another interesting guy, Edgar Allan Poe. It seemed to be really weird, mostly in the sense of, so Edgar Allan Poe was a drunk. He had a wife. Annabelle Lee is kind of a true story. I think his wife also, isn't there he died drunk in a gutter? Yes! He is. The theory is they say that he died drunk in a gutter. My favorite theory is did he die drunk in a gutter or did he die of rabies? Didn't see that coming, did you? Because, as you know, Edgar Allan Poe was a very sad individual. He had depression. He lost his wife, I think, to tuberculosis or some other disease. But obviously I think that's what also the poem Annabelle Lee, which is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe literature, is kind of about that. Because I think he had a wife who died or left him. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was basically the story of he loved this woman for so very long. Either they got together or she never got with him. And there was another woman. But long story short, he was alone at the end. He died, I would say, I'm not sure what year, but when he died, during that time, obviously rabies wasn't something that people knew about or really understood fully. But the reason why it's a theory that he actually died of rabies not being drunk in a gutter is because of the symptoms. Like he had foaming in the mouth, he had fevers, he had just the classic case of rabies symptoms. But they weren't super strong, so that's why a lot of people don't truly believe it, but it is a good theory. And considering we don't know how he died, there's really no evidence to say particularly. I like to say he died of rabies because I think it's funnier. But yes, I wish I had more information. I realized that Tanzler was a very short story to tell you guys, mostly because there's really not much to it. It's a cut and dry case. The first time I've heard the story was this lady, she's a mortician, and she does a lot of these kind of stories. That is interesting. I didn't know that one. It's a really good idea. I'm really curious on what other people think about it, because I did learn this in high school, or like as a class we had to pick a side on what we believed he died as, with the research we were provided. But yes, Carl Tanzler was not a long story. This is my first stream alone, so don't know what to say. I don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of. It's not the same, but it's just as fun. But everything's working good. No shutting down of the stream or drop frames. Everything's working, so that's perfect. So on to things that I want to do with the future, so then I can talk for hours. I want to read crime books. That was not aesthetically pleasing. Please pardon me. Crime books. So obviously, if you watched other streams, you know that I work at a bookstore, and I like books, and I like true crime, and I like true crime books. So I got a few of them, and I kind of wanted to do a few. So basically, my portion for the podcast on my own is I want to do kind of like a book club, because me and Wes were part of a book club called Read Between the Wines, and it was really, really fun. But the issue is there's a little too many people, and also just scheduling, and life happens. So I've been wanting to get more into reading, and I wanted to get more into true crime. So I bought a few books already. So these will probably be the first 3 we do if you want to read with me. The first one I got it, and that's what kind of sparked this desire to do it on my own, is called Dark Archives. Book club, no talk about book, lol. That is actually facts. That's why we couldn't do it anymore. But I want to read this book called Dark Archives. It is the history of human-bound books, human skin-bound books. Very interesting. And I'm really excited to talk about it, mostly because I like the ethical idea of it. Is because, I mean, we just talked about Carl Tanzler. That's a good argument. With Carl Tanzler, he took a dead body without permission. Well, technically, these are human-made books with skin that probably didn't have the permission of the humans to be made into book. So is it ethically okay to keep the books and have them as in museums, or should we bury them because they are human? So that's what this book is about. It's about the morality and just the history of human skin being bound into books. And there are still dozens to this day out there. Obviously, researchers have them, but... And then the other one is Unspeakable Acts. True tales of crime, murder, deceit, and obsession. But this one's just kind of like, I think it's just like a collection of recent true crime tales. So it's about a dozen, I feel like, different crimes and just stories. So I think that would be a really fun one because it wouldn't just be me talking about a singular story in a book. It's about like a multitude of them. The author, Sarah Weinman. I wanted to say Wienerman, but there's not an R in there. She's written in a couple other ones, and I've seen this one fly off the shelves at work, so that's why I partially picked it up. And then, I know, I'm also excited for the skin one, especially after we did Ed Gein. Ed Gein was a guy that made furniture out of human skin. He was a little bit more fucked up. Ah, yes, Book of Skin. But I'm really interested of that one. And then the third book I got, so these aren't all the books I'm going to read. These are going to be just probably the first 3, mostly because I should read what I buy first, unless something cooler comes up. And it's The Haunting of Alma Fielding, a true ghost story. Which, whether or not you believe in ghosts is up to you. I truly don't want to think about it because I'm spooked. But it's but basically it takes place in London, and it's about a young housewife who, I think she dies, but I don't really know much about it. I'm not gonna actually pretend I know. It just said a true ghost story, so that's why I was like interested. There's also a couple conspiracy books I want to get. I was thinking about more talking to Wes about those. I think one's called Pale Horse or something. And then we could do, because I was thinking we could do some collabs on the book ones, because there are so many ungodly true crime books out there that we could definitely do a lot. I always, obviously, in the future want to do ones like The Irishman, that one movie on Netflix with Robert De Niro. That one is actually based on a true story and is a book. Same with Son of Sam. So we did Son of Sam, I want to say a month ago, right around the time the documentary came out. There's also a book. Also, if you've ever seen Mindhunters, that is also a book about the main character. I think it is his book. My only fear with these true crime books that might put me back a little bit, if they're anything like the psychopath test, I will tell you right now, did not like that book, would not recommend it to a single soul. Wes will agree on that. I've tried reading it 2 times, didn't understand a single word to this day of what it said. But, guys, that's what I want to do. So I might do a short one today, mostly because I want to do a really, really good long one with the books and stuff. And so I think next week me and Wes are getting together. I forgot the person we were gonna do about haunting mimes. It's when haunting mimes is when a mime a person who is a mimer or a mime dies, and then you never know where they're at because they just seem like they're everywhere. So we're still thinking about a topic for next week. That one will be on a Saturday around our normal time, 3 or 4. So we'll think about what we want to do. I don't know if we had a person yet or a person and idea in mind. We'll talk about that later. But next week we'll be on, and then the week after Wes will be on, and then we'll do a together one, and then I'll be on talking about Dark Archives. And I'll be here, hopefully with some more cool stuff on my walls or in a cooler area. This was kind of I think this one is Manson or Zodiac, I think. Let's do the Zodiac Killer. We're going to do the Zodiac Killer next week because there's a lot of things. And eventually, I was going to talk to Wes about this. I'd eventually like to do, because there is a conspiracy book that I want to read and want Wes to read, because I feel like he would probably love it because it's one that everyone loves. And so I want to do just a conspiracy episodes code. So it's true crime drunks, but it's just conspiracy, so it's not fully facts, so you don't always have to trust us on that information because conspiracies are opinion based. So next week with our Zodiac one, we will tell you the facts, the hardcore facts, and then we'll tell you our conspiracies, only because conspiracies are also fun. They are in the walls, there are the walls. There you go. So yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. Sorry it's a shorter episode. I was kind of trying not to ramble too much on my own, mostly because I don't want to be a rambler, but I'm always down for a good conspiracy. Ted Cruz. See, the Zodiac Killer never died. He's just governor of Texas. And you heard it from me, folks. With that, I will be bidding you adieu. Next time I come on, it will be a full hour, or it will be a really good episode. Not so much meandering and me just talking, just to talk, to get the views. Not really to get the views. But, so next week we'll be talking about the Zodiac Killer, especially since he's kind of a hot topic right now because more people are undiscovering his messages. And then after that, Wes will do one, and then we'll come back together, and then I'll do one, and then we'll be reading this. So follow us on True Crime Drunks to keep up with the latest. I'll let you guys know when I'm going on and if this is officially the book I'm going to read. Email us. Look at our website, email us about how terrible the website is or how amazing the website is. Both are going to be True Crime Drunks. The website is truecrimedrunks.com and email is truecrimedrunks@gmail.com. Still amazed to this day that we got all licensing for that and didn't have to ask for it from anybody. So with that, you guys, I appreciate everyone coming in. Thanks for my first solo podcast. I've never done that before. It's been very fun. And I will see you guys next week with Wes. Bye-bye.